Hello everyone, how's it going? I'm Wowcrendor, and I am joined here by Cory Stockton, even though his Skype says he's Greg Street. How are you doing, Cory?
I'm doing great.
Are you sure you're not Greg?
You can definitely call me Greg if that makes you feel better.
It does make me feel a little
We
better.
sit right we sit right next to each other, so
Oh. Well, I am someone that asks the hard-hitting questions of the people. So,
great.
uh, I'm gonna start with, have you seen my videos before?
I have seen a couple.
Mm-hmm. Which ones would that be?
The the Lucky Do, I believe, is but that was trying to remember when I saw that. It got
Yes.
we get so many links and so many things that come through.
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes it's hard to put together every single thing that comes through and where exactly it came from.
I get you. That's good. All right, I'll accept that answer. I was just
Okay,
making sure.
great.
Also, how many hours have you put into Animal Crossing?
Oh, I've somewhere between 80 and 100.
That's not bad.
At this point. I'm probably, I think when I last checked, I was at like 86, but that was a couple weeks ago. Um, it's still multiple times a day.
All right.
It's
So,
it's slowing down a little bit from what it used to be.
yeah, that's the same with me. Has your town started to accumulate weeds now, and your citizens are just like, where have you been?
Yeah, I've definitely started to see a few weeds. I put in the gardening ordinance because I realized that I wasn't paying as much attention to that as I was before.
Yeah,
Um, you start to do things like painting the furniture, and you start not caring about the things you were doing like a month ago, right?
exactly.
You're spending more time. Like I don't really check the shoe shop every day anymore, or stuff like that.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into some WoW stuff then.
Let's do it.
So, I'm someone that has played since vanilla,
Sweet.
and recently,
Sure.
though, I think I've gotten tired of my priest, so I've been doing my Let's Play series where I level a hunter and people yell at me at how slow I level. And then
Awesome.
I've been playing an Alliance Paladin with the lady friend. And that's been pretty fun because I'm experiencing a lot of the Cataclysm leveling content that I hadn't really experienced back then.
Yep.
But for someone that hasn't played WoW in a while and someone that, let's say, hasn't raided in a while, or maybe they haven't raided since even Wrath and they want to get back into the game because of this patch, what would you say this patch is going to do to bring them back?
Well, I think there's a number of things. Flexible raid is probably one of the biggest things for people that felt like they had trouble either, either they didn't enjoy LFR specifically for some reason, and then they always, they had trouble finding the exact number of players to either do 10 or 25. So offering a level of difficulty, a new level of difficulty that also offers the option of, a different number of players with correct difficulty for that specific number. I think that could be a really big thing,
Mm-hmm.
especially for people that were into raiding before. As far as for people that are coming into the game that maybe weren't into raiding but were more into the world content, that's where the Timeless Isle really falls in line there. The Timeless Isle has a completely pretty huge variance of difficulty levels of content. Starting out at the outer levels at the beach, right when you get there, all the way up to, huge 25 player raid bosses with Ordos at the top that required the legendary cloak to even be able to get to. It's a pretty big piece of content. It's like 4 world chunks in size, which is like, it's pretty giant. It's almost probably the size of Tol Barad questing area and the actual PvP area. So it's a big island with a lot of stuff to do.
All right, and it's not just another, like daily quest zone. Like it's a lot more than that.
There's no, I don't even think there's one daily quest on the island.
Oh.
The entire concept behind Timeless Isle was to really get World of Warcraft and try out a chance to get back to that place where it had a sense of exploration and discovery. It's something we really feel like we've lost some of over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that is just the nature of the beast. When you have a game that got and still is as large as World of Warcraft, a lot of our content had to be more accessible to more people, which kind of drives us in that direction in some cases. But we really love that concept of exploration and finding something awesome that you didn't know was there. So the Time of Sorrow is really a chance to do that. The whole place is really about looking for rare spawns, looking for rare treasure chests. It's filled with events all over the place where you find something and click on it or interact with it, and it starts a whole event. And so, by finding that stuff all over the island, it's really a matter of, we're not necessarily directing you through dailies to do stuff. It's more like, just go run around, go figure out how to beat these guys. Oh, there's a cave here. There's probably going to be something inside of it for you to find. So we're really hyped on that because it's a chance to do something we've been wanting to do for a while and get a sense of how players react to it.
Yeah, I know a lot of like other games have been going that more like dynamic, environment is changing and there's lots of more sandbox type things to do, but I know it's hard to do that when you're using a game that was made 9-10 years ago.
Yeah, I think the big thing there is just the key of an MMO is there's tons of players that could possibly be doing any one thing at any one time. We internally call that player collision, is how we refer to that. But you can imagine like an event, right? Say there's an event that spawns like a pirate ship with skeletons on it that come in, and it has this whole event that you can complete, and then it rewards loot at the end. We have to have technology that basically deals with all the situations of who was there at the start, who showed up in the middle, who's there at the end, making sure everyone gets the correct loot. There's no loot stealing. Loot is personal and individual. You feel like you got what you needed for your contribution. Like all of those kind of mundane, low-level things are all key important factors before we could even do the kind of stuff we wanted to do on this island. Because otherwise we could make all this super cool content, but people are, if the experience isn't right, if it doesn't feel like what they expect, they're not going to care how cool the concept the concept or the content is, because they're just going to be upset that it didn't work right. Yeah. So really, I think that we've got that technology now. We're using it here. So I think it's going to be great to get a chance to get players into something new and different that doesn't feel so grindy.
Yeah. I think that's definitely the biggest issue people have, is they don't want to just have a task list of chores where they got to check off and be like, well, I did that for the day.
Yeah. There's ways for us to do that feels good. I think the Half Hill Farm is a great example of that, of a way that we could build escalating content that lasted a while but didn't feel like it got repetitive. Like it had, you were getting new seeds, you're planting new stuff. Granted, yes, there were some things that we definitely feel like we can improve upon that experience, but I think the general vibe there is most people that got involved with the farm really had positive feedback and really liked the progression angle, the personal faction that you would earn, for the other NPCs around the area. You could update your farm a little bit cosmetically. I think there was a lot there, a lot that we've learned, a lot that we've picked up, and we want to do more of that kind of stuff versus just, filling an empty faction bar.
Yeah, I get what you mean. So, one thing I've noticed while I'm leveling is I like the new talent system, but
cool.
One problem is I feel like every time you level, it almost feels like it doesn't matter as much as it used to. Like, for example, say I hit level 37, and before I would get a talent point where it's like, oh, I get 1% hit, even though that doesn't really matter too much, like, oh, it's only 1% hit. It still made you feel like, hey, I got something, almost like an achievement, where an achievement doesn't really mean that much, but you still feel achieved. And I feel like you need something every level, whether or not it's a talent point. I don't, that doesn't really matter, but just something. What do you think about that?
Totally agree. I think me and Greg and Tom would tell you they agree also. That's something we struggle with all the time, right? Like you're looking at this game that has 90 levels and trying to think of what can we do 90 times that doesn't feel boring or repetitive. Or on top of that, coming back to the game, if you got to level 65 and then you come back later and trying to figure out what the heck you did before, that's another thing we struggle with all the time. So I think the talent change that we made was a good one. I think that for returning players, those decisions are much easier. I think the decisions are much more meaningful. Like you mentioned, it's hard to get excited about 1% crit
Yeah.
or 1% dodge, especially when you're leveling up, and it probably doesn't matter that much because the level up content, we're not designing the level up content for you to fail, right?
Yeah.
The goal is for you to get to max level and then continue on into our other content that can really test your skills. So it's not like those talents are really like giving you like a big leg up, right?
Yeah.
Um,
That's why I think it
so
was just like the mindset of like, oh, I got something instead of just
yeah,
like, oh, I leveled.
it's something that we've struggled with. I mean, you've seen us over time. We've changed how often you get spells and where you get. Now we just grant you the spells in the field. You don't even have to go back to your trainer anymore, right? But there's some stretches in there that don't necessarily feel great. It all depends on the class you're playing. But some classes can go like 10 levels without really feeling like you got a whole lot. And that's something that I don't have a great answer for you except for the fact that that's something that we know about, and it's something every expansion we look at it and we try to think of a way of how can we make sure that is there anything we can do here to make this feel better. I think the talent system in Pandaria was definitely a help to the concept overall. It made it easier for returning players, and I really do think it made those decisions more meaningful. You might get them less often, but when you do make that call, it feels good. Like it feels like you actually made a decision versus maybe giving you over those same 10 levels, you got like 6 abilities and like you don't even use them, right?
Yeah.
Or stuff like that. But yeah, it's a struggle. It's totally a struggle. I think what we focus on is hopefully making sure that the content that you're playing feels good. The core mechanics of your class are fun. Hopefully when you're playing your paladin, you're using seals, you're checking out, you're playing it in a way that feels fun, hopefully, and the content is engaging. That's really got to be our core there.
Yeah. And I know another big feature is Connected Realms. And I think Connected Realms is awesome. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I like my low pop servers. But to me, Connected Realms is, say you go to a server and there's like hardly anybody there except the few people that are like, hey, I like playing by myself, which isn't really the point of an MMO. But it's almost like you go into a restaurant and you see like 2 people eating there that always eat there, and then you're like, oh, where are all the people? And then you leave because you think, oh, well, this place is not that great. While if you go into a restaurant and it's packed full of people, you're like, oh, wow, this must be good. I want to eat here. Or like maybe
Exactly.
they fixed something, and that's what I think Connected Realms is trying to do.
It's like you're checking the Yelp reviews, and if there's only like 3 reviews, you're like, I'm not sure. Seems weird. This place has been around for a while. I totally agree with you. I think we're Connected Realms so hyped on that feature because it's also something that's been in development for a very long time. I mean, you've probably heard me and Greg in countless interviews say that we know this is a problem. We're working on it. We have a solution that we think is super awesome, but it's a very technologically crazy solution for us to actually create, implement, test, and get into the game. That's really the reason why it took so long, right? We knew what we wanted to do, but actually doing it is a completely different story. No one's really ever done anything like this of what we're trying to do here. But it should feel seamless. It should feel completely seamless. If we pick 3 servers and say that they're going to be a connected realm, you should get to keep your name. You should get to keep your guild. There's none of that weird stuff. You get to keep your identity. If you run, Proudmoore or whatever, Tichondrius, stuff like that, these big servers that people really know of, you can still say you're from that server, right?
Yeah.
But you should get all the benefits of the fact that you now have all the players from multiple servers together.
So is that why you chose to do that over something like a server merge?
Oh, completely. I mean, server merges we could have done a long time ago, right? But a server merge, it really creates a strain for people doing it, right? Like when you merge people together, they're going to have to change their names. People could have been playing WoW for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and they don't want to change their name. That could be what gets them to not play anymore. They might really be connected with that identity. The same thing, think of these people that have been in these guilds, these raiding guilds for so long, and then it turns out there's a guild on another server like with the same name.
Yeah.
And then we've got guild leveling and this whole system with guild achievements and stuff. Like all that stuff has to move. And worst of all, right, you're not from your server anymore. If you've been so-and-so from Tyke for a long time, like you want to stay like that.
Yeah.
And I think to to those of us here, I just think those were key important factors that we thought we had to have those kinds of things to be able to do a feature like this.
So like now, say you merge with 3 other servers and you are named, I don't know, Bob. It's uncreative, but and then there's another Bob on another realm. So is it just gonna say maybe like Bob and then have your realm name next to your name?
Yeah, it'll have that, and then we also show a little icon like I believe we're using the tilde, or it might be the asterisk, the one that we use for CRZ, and for connected realms we're using the number sign as like the icon to show you that this person is from a connected realm versus this person is from a CRZ realm.
Yeah.
Because CRZ obviously is restricted, right? It's limited by the fact that sure you can chat with people and you can see them in the world in zones where you're mixed together. You could quest together. You can do dungeons and raids and stuff, but like you can't invite that guy to your guild, right?
Yeah.
You can't put him necessarily. You can put him on your BattleNet friends list, but you can't put him on your normal friends list. Stuff like that. That just like CRZ is very cool. It offers a lot of great features. I think it's been one of the coolest things to come to WoW, to be honest. Like obviously there's been some issues over time that we've been able to correct a little bit more and more each patch, but to be able to say that we want like the Barons to always be able to have X number of people in it and just have that be able to work, we can pull those people in from like 30 different servers and make sure that Barons always feels like it's fun and full of people and there's stuff to do. That's a huge feature for WoW, right? That, like you're not playing through this zone that like, man, this game, just like you said, right? This zone must not be very popular. I guess if it was on Yelp, I'd give it like 1 star.
Yeah, exactly. Because
you know,
like,
you want it.
Even back in vanilla in those days, where you go to the Barrens and it's just loaded with people, or even
it
if
feels
you're in
cool,
BC
right?
and
Like
stuff like that. Yeah, it's just fun to have people there talking, and it just feels alive.
You want to go into Crossroads there and see a bunch of dudes. You want to like be able to ask like, "Where's Mankirk's wife?" and like be able to find it. Like, you know what I mean? I think that WoW is a multiplayer MMO game, right? That's the point of it. So I think that's one just unique thing about Blizzard is when we look at like, obviously we could have just merged servers, but I think it's a really big key piece of technology for World of Warcraft, and you're going to see it grow and even get more features over time.
Now, I know there's Proving Grounds, and
Yep.
I haven't really looked into Proving Grounds a whole lot, so I'm not sure what it is. Are there going to be like Proving Grounds on how to prove you're not a troll in trade chat, or prove that you can click a ready check on time, or prove that you can join an LFG and not go AFK?
We're actually planning those Proving Grounds as requirements for your entry into LFR.
All right.
Specifically.
You have to join an LFR and not go AFK for 5 minutes, and then you're awarded the badge.
You have to join a pug dungeon group through Dungeon Finder and actually say 1 word.
And you have to not yell at the tank or the healer.
Yeah, Proving Grounds is a super cool feature. It's something we had on the task list for 5.0 originally. We wanted to ship with it. Unfortunately, it didn't make the cut, didn't have time for it. But it's something that we felt was important, so we've kept it around. We've bumped it from patch to patch. We finally had the time to do it here in patch 5.4. It's a really great way for people to try out things that they can't do right now, right? It's a great way. I've never healed, I've never tanked. Sure, you have target dummies for DPS, but that's not a real world situation. In Proving Grounds, right, you've got dots going off, you've got ground stuff on the ground to get out of the way of, you've got dudes running around. It's much more of an environment that would feel like an actual dungeon or a raid. So it's a great way to get in there and get a chance to not only hone your skills, but actually be able to teach you how to do healing. If you've never done healing, if you play all the way through gold on Proving Grounds, you should definitely be able to queue and do healing and have people not yell at you.
Yeah. All right, well, I'm going to ask you one fan question that I got on Twitter.
Sweet.
And then I'll ask you one wrap-up question. So, Damian Nicholas asks, what singular contribution have you made to the game that you are most proud of?
Oh, wow, that's a gnarly question. Man, I've been on WoW it's been 8.5 years now, so it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Man, when I look back on all the stuff, probably the most fun I guess contribution wise, man, I don't know. I guess what's been most fun is just creating the world. That's what I've really had been so lucky to have the opportunity to be here, at Blizzard at a time when we just, we sit on a couch with a whiteboard and Chris Metzen walks in and he's like, okay, we're going to Outland. And we don't know what that means, like, as far as like what we're going to do, but we find, the expansion's going to be Outland. So let's create Outland.
Yeah.
And we sit there and we get to come up with Zangar Marsh, and obviously we have reference, right? Like Hellfire Peninsula and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get to create just these awesome the chance to make Nagrand, like, and design that out and have fun with it, lay out the maps and figure out who's going to go there and what we're going to do. Really, those experiences, I just can't put anything over those. Like Northrend was so amazing to get a chance to build Northrend, right? And we knew that we were going to fight Arthas at the end, but being able to have a chance to come up with, like, what is Howling Fjord?
Mm-hmm.
When players come in the expansion, what are we going to do? And, let's get crazy. Let's put them on a boat and have it be like a Disneyland ride. They'll, like, go through a cave with these, like, crazy burning ships hanging from the ceiling of the cave, the bright hole. Moments like that, I just, they stick with me forever, because you look back with the fondness that WoW players talk about the worlds. There's always raid fights and there's raids and there's items and classes and stuff, but people talk about these experiences that they have in Northrend or in Outland or in Pandaria. So I really feel like getting the chance to create those worlds has been, one of the most awesome things I've gotten to do in my entire career.
Yeah, definitely. That's the fun part about being a creator, is you get to create experiences and kind of just bring other people into what you imagine in your mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like at BlizzCon when we get to watch the video contest of stuff, and obviously we watch tons of videos all the time. But getting to see all that stuff and see people create within these worlds that we built for the game is just amazing. I think everyone on the WoW team feels like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Because I kind of know that in what I do for making YouTube videos, is I can kind of just take, it's weird because I can take the things you create and, like, make stories out of them or make videos out of them, and it's like creating off someone's creation. So
what's so amazing about a lot of you guys and people that make the videos is a lot of times it's just one person.
Yeah.
Like when I talk about WoW and building Burning Crusade and Northrend and stuff, we have this huge team of amazing people, right? Like, so I feel excited that I'm able to be in it at the very beginning and help pitch those ideas and carry them through. But it's like none of this would be possible without this amazing team of people that we have. So many people on the WoW team have been on the WoW team for a very long time. Mm. And that's why when I watch these videos and I see people that do stuff in the world, it always blows my mind that they do this stuff on their own, and it just looks so good.
Yeah. All right. Well, one final question. I know you're the pet battle guy, so what is your opinion on pet battles, and what do you want to change for the future of pet battles?
I love it. I think it's an awesome feature. I really love the fact that it's offered a new type of gameplay to WoW that players have really clung onto. We didn't really know exactly how people were going to react. We had a lot of negative feedback originally about, oh, this is some weird kitty, like, dumbed down thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think all along we knew that wasn't what we were building. We were building something that would have a great design, that was fun, that would really embrace the properties of what makes WoW WoW, right? But obviously it was a mini game within WoW. I'm really excited and happy with it. I mean, we get so much great feedback on the feature. It feels like a wide swath of WoW players are playing it. We have these hardcore raiders that I would never think would be into it, but they're, like, totally obsessed with collecting pets. Yeah. And in the same vein, you have new people that are, like, level 20, right? And they can get into the system too. So I think what's cool about that system is it feels like something that everyone can get into, right? Mm-hmm. There's no, like, eye level requirement or something to have to do pet battles. Yeah. So really happy with it overall. I think it was a great addition to the game. As far as what I'd want to see in the future, what we really see pet battles as, it's a content driven feature. Like, I don't think we necessarily have to keep adding levels to pets. We don't have to add more quality. We don't need to, like, change the core dynamics, because I think it's been clear over this, like, 4 patch cycles since Pandaria has shipped that people like the game. I don't think we need to go changing the core stuff and add more features in that way. I think what we need to do is add more content. So I think that's what you'll see us continue to do with pet battles is we'll have more pets, pets that have unique abilities that work really well against, new pet trainers, new boss pets, implementing pet stuff into quest lines, using them as rewards, stuff like that. Just extend the content of the system. But I don't really see any big reason for us to have to change any of the core way that the system works.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Because then people just have to relearn it again. We add more buttons, we add more stuff. It's just going to make it more complicated. I think right now it's approachable yet deep, which I think is something we really like where that is.
Yeah, just improve upon it rather than change it again and have
Yep.
people relearn everything.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me, Cory/Greg. And
Yeah, it was no problem at all.
if I had to recommend a video for you to watch of mine, I would recommend If Fans Ran WoW, because I feel like you would appreciate that as a developer.
I will. I'm actually staring at your YouTube page right now. So.
All right. Well, where can people find you on things like Twitter and such?
I'm at Mumper on Twitter.
All right. So at Mumper, if you want to tweet at Cory and call him Greg.
Yeah, go for it.
Right.
I'll be sure to retweet those to Greg right away.
I think he'll appreciate that.
I bet.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah, for sure. It was fun talking to you.